The government shutdown has affected all forms of places, not just out in the real world, also out on the internet. In some cases, some people call it the interwebs, but I don't like using the term interwebs because I don't think it as an interweb because it's more than just web. Most people think that web browsing is the only thing that's out on the internet. If you've been around the internet for any length of time, then you'll know that there's a lot more to it. But a big portion is web browsing. And since there is a lot of web browsing out there, a lot of government agencies, the most easiest way to get a hold of them is via the web. Oh, and in some cases on Twitter. The CDC, for example, NASA, and the Library of Congress for a few examples. Now, the CDC actually had to shut down. They said, sorry, we will not be tweeting or responding to @replies during the government shutdown. We'll be back as soon as possible. The thing is, with government agencies like this shut down, then what happens to all that other stuff that's going on? The Republicans in office seem to think that the government is just a big thing they could just shut down and doesn't hurt anybody. There's a lot that is hurting, and not just the web, of course, but it's a big story right now. Joe, your thoughts?
Yeah, the shutdown is bullshit. They have enough votes in the House. Enough Republicans and Democrats have said they would vote for a clean bill to reopen the government, but the House leadership is refusing to bring it to the floor. And I spent the last 3 days facepalming at all the misinformed posts on the internet by people who think the president shut down the government. And the government shut down because there isn't enough money to pay for Obamacare. It's mind-numbing.
Right.
News, read it. Google, use it. If you don't know what you're talking about, don't hit post. And that's the worst thing to happen to the internet because of all this.
Right. And the thing is, though, the budget that they want to push through, it's a Republican budget anyway. It's not about the money at all in this case. It's just about Obamacare. They're like small children. They're throwing a fit. Crystal, your thoughts?
Well, I'm going to second Joe. It's just a bunch of bullshit, and they're acting like a bunch of toddlers over this. I think just kind of researching the story, Congress and the president both have to be paid with mandatory funds. They don't have, what am I trying to say? I just went totally blank.
Welcome to Packard Pokes At.
They have to be paid. That's part of the Constitution. They've got to be paid.
Right.
I'm really impressed at the growing list of the senators that are either refusing their pay or going to donate their pay to charity, which is just a list that's online. I wouldn't even begin to start listing that. But that wasn't the case to begin with. There was only like 3.
Right.
That decided that they wouldn't accept a salary if everybody else was suffering. I'm really disappointed that NASA was one of the ones that took the cuts as that was non-essential funding, except for the ISS station and some, related things.
Yeah, I hope they keep the oxygen going on the ISS up there. Due to budget cuts, you'll be getting less oxygen this week.
No doubt. Plus, they took the darn NASA channel off my TV, and I like that thing.
Oh, yeah. And, another thing is they've also shut down the USGS. The earthquake thing, they'll still monitor them, but it's going to become less frequent. So if there's an earthquake, you might get a few hours later, oh, by the way, there was an earthquake. Oh, well, thanks for the news there, Hotshot. It's a terrible situation.
It really is.
But it just means that we don't have the money to pay for earthquakes, so there's going to be fewer of them.
Oh, there you go. Why didn't I think of that? Because, the government's behind all that. Jason, your thoughts?
This has been planned.
Mm-hmm.
This shutdown, Republican congressmen and senators congressmen ran promising that they were going to shut down the government.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of footage out there of them saying this is exactly what they were going to do, and now this is what they're doing. So if you meet someone who honestly says it's Obama did it, they are not even paying attention to their own Republican congressman who told them that this is what they were going to do.
It's selective memory.
This shutdown is simply just part of the... They obviously do not care that... First of all, we need to stop calling it Obamacare because it's misleading.
Yes.
And it ties it directly to the president. Right now, my mind is blanking as to what it's really called. It's the
Affordable Health Care Act.
Affordable Health Care Act, exactly. there's been a poll that says if you ask someone how do they feel about the Affordable Health Care Act, they're all for it.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask someone how do they feel about Obamacare, they're against it.
Yes.
So we need to start changing the terminology in regards to what's going on. But what's really frustrating is that they seem to have convinced people that we're going to be able to change the law.
Yeah.
This is a law now.
Yeah.
And most people don't seem to understand that they didn't shut down the government so that we can repeal Obamacare, because they can't.
Right.
They can't do it.
They tried 40 times.
Yeah. And it's an incredibly popular bill.
Mm-hmm.
And it's already started to lower healthcare costs.
Yes.
For a lot of people.
Yes.
This is, I feel, the death nail for the Republican Party.
Oh, I hope so, because I think the Republican Party is a dinosaur that needs to die off.
At least this severely conservative base that they keep pandering to, which has been growing more and more out of touch and just very unrealistic in what it thinks the rest of the country needs.
Right.
And hopefully it'll shift back to what Republicans used to be and what they used to believe in.
Yeah.
Which was fiscal conservancy. And they weren't so heavily involved in all of these, quite frankly, moral issues that quite honestly, I don't think politics have any reason having their beaks in.
Yeah, that's the Tea Party has got their fingers all over this. Hey, AJ, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
This is a conspiracy of monumental proportions. It first started when there wasn't enough fruit in the fruit cups at the congressional commissary. So to save money, both the Democrats, the Republicans, and the super secret third party, which goes by no other name than the Blacklist Party, conspired to shut down the government so they can afford the fruitiest of fruit cups.
I want to get on that fruit cup list.
Oh, you don't.
I want to.
I'm just telling you about this. Dole is going to kill me, and not Bob Dole, who's half robot. I'm talking about the Dole Pineapple Company.
Oh, I have no idea what to even say to that.
Robin in the chat room says AJ's right.
AJ's right. Packard wants fruit. I would like some fruit. Fruit tastes pretty good.